secondary or post-education after high school is not necessary. Our country has put an emphasis, you got to go to college, you got to go to college, you got to go to college. And I respectfully disagree with that. I think that individuals who are now graduating from high school should look at more trade schools.
If you've got 1,000 people in your ear telling you the right choice to make, then I want you to watch this episode all the way through. David, a successful attorney, breaks down how the default path can steal your time and money. Let's get into it. Welcome to this episode's Best Path Forward. Today, I'm joined by David.
Thrilled to be here.
Thrilled to be here.
Thrilled.
Welcome to the podcast.
I'm so excited. You've been telling me about this, and it's an honor to be invited here today.
Well, I appreciate you being here.
I am really excited. I'm ready for your questions, for some responses, and I appreciate a little drink. So this is amazing. What a great day.
It is a great day. So tell me, what's been the highlight of your day so far?
It was a long day. I had to be in court today and then had to deal with some other difficult individuals. So I was really looking forward to being here today. And as you know, I arrived a little bit early. And so this is the highlight right now.
Very nice. In court, so you were a defendant in the case, right? Because, I mean, you're too nice to be a lawyer.
Last time I checked, no. I think those defendant days passed maybe when I was a little bit younger, but I don't want to talk about that. I think those records are now sealed. Yes.
Those records are sealed.
Those are sealed. So we don't want to go into that. But yes, as you know, I'm an attorney. Do litigation, grew up in this Columbus area, as I always say. Grew up here, went to school here, and will die here.
Oh, I mean, Columbus is a great city.
I love Columbus. When I was growing up here, I wanted to get out of the city. It was lack of culture, boring, and I always said, I don't want to go and stay here. I want to go somewhere else. And I ended up going to Ohio State University before it was the Ohio State University. That should tell you something about my age. And I had a great opportunity there. I worked with the basketball team. And then out of graduating from Ohio State University, I went to Capital University Law School, got a job with the prosecutor's office, and basically stayed. And now I love how this city has evolved into a more multicultural city, and there's so much more to do here. So I do love Columbus.
You just said so many things there, and I'm fascinated by it. One, I didn't know Ohio State University wasn't always known as the Ohio State University.
It was not. I can't remember when, but I remember they tried to trademark the, and there was a lot of controversy, and a lot of ribbing from other schools. And so when they trademarked the, that's when they became the Ohio State University. But I know when I went to Ohio State, it was not the.
That is wild. I've always known it as the Ohio State. And so you just said a lot of very cool things there. And so you said you were in Columbus, you wanted to kind of get out because the city wasn't where you wanted it to be. For somewhere you wanted to kind of like settle down and like have your roots and everything. From when you first went to Ohio State University and not the Ohio State University, what's been one of the biggest changes that you've seen in Columbus?
I think that it's become more culture, more diversity. I've always felt that Columbus was more white bread when I was growing up. I mean, you couldn't find an ethnic restaurant. There might have been one Indian restaurant. There was no Arab restaurants. It was just very plain and vanilla. It was exactly what you would expect probably in the 70s and 80s as what a Midwestern city would be. And then over time, once I graduated college, in the late 80s and early 90s, you started to see more people come into the city with different backgrounds and diversity. And you started to see those different cultures. And I think that is what the city began to evolve. And then obviously, we had Mayor Coleman, who in my opinion was one of the greatest mayors ever, and what he did for the city to also bring in this culture, bring in business. And I think that's where things changed and where for me, I said, I want to stay here and raise my family here.
It's fascinating because I'm not from Columbus, Ohio. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, which is pretty much southern Georgia. And when I first told people I was going to, at that time it was the Ohio State University, I said Ohio State. They said, you mean the Ohio State? I was like, I'm not sure. I'm not there yet. I mean, we'll find out. They were like, oh, what's there? Like a whole bunch of corn and everything. And I remember when I first got off the plane and got to the Ohio State University campus, people just kept yelling OH to me. But I also realized there was a shocking low amount of just open cornfields. So it was like, oh, this is a really cool city. University. And that was a long time ago. It was like 2008 or so when I first came up. And so it was really cool to kind of just see like just the different like diversity in just different areas. Like you'll drive 15 minutes and end up in a completely different suburb. And it's like, oh, this is different. Grandview's different than UA, which is different than like the Short North and different than King Lincoln and everything. And so what's some of your favorite spots in Columbus to go visit?
Well, we live down in Victorian Village, so raised my family over in Bexley, which is a suburb close to downtown, and then moved over to Victorian Village with Betsy, my wife. And we love downtown. Over the past couple of years, the Short North has maybe taken a little bit of a bad rap because of what has transpired down there. But, that's every city. I mean, that's sort of a growth of a larger city that you're going to have a little bit more crime. And that does happen. And if you are someone who enjoys downtown living and may have been exposed to other things through your life experiences, you're used to that. You're not afraid. So we really do enjoy the Short North just because there is so much culture. The arts are down there, great restaurants, different types of individuals, diversity. So we really like the Short North. I will say this, and I'll probably get chastised. We do not like Bridge Park. We always joke that Bridge Park is Short North, but up in an area where people might not want to, traverse downtown. And I'm saying that politely. So that's not an area that we truly enjoy, but we like Short North. And I think that is probably, in downtown Columbus, which is a little bit different than Short North, is now sort of evolving as well with more restaurants. And we like coming downtown. It's a short walk. So those are basically where we love in the city.
Nice. So now that you've opened the door to controversy by railing on a poor Bridge Park in good old Dublin, I have a controversial question to ask you.
Fire away.
What's your favorite restaurant in the Short North?
That is a tough question. There are so many different ones. We used to love the Pearl. The Pearl was our favorite restaurant. One of my law clerks still works at the Pearl. So we would go in there and have a great time. Betsy and I would go there, and this was probably before COVID. And then after COVID, sort of the Pearl things changed a little bit. So that was probably number one. And then probably the second that we love is probably Marcella's.
Oh, I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah. We just love it there. It's just open. The food's great. The great meatball. So, you can't go wrong there. I mean, and I know I'm not doing a pitch for Cameron Mitchell because we do love other restaurateurs who are not Cameron Mitchell in this city, but those are two wonderful spots.
It's fascinating. My buddy Charles came up from Texas and he was like, I had to go to Marcella's. I'm like, why? He was like, I had to try the meatball. I was like, I'm sorry, what? So apparently like he had heard about the meatball from Marcella's way down in Texas, and he came up and tried it, and he was blown away. He was talking about how big it was.
It's huge. It comes out, like a mini crock pot, and you just open it up, and it's huge. And it's, I love sharing. It's like family style. Everyone digs in with a fork and eats it.
Oh, you share it?
Oh,
I made him order two.
Oh, that's look at you.
I wanted one.
Yeah, you probably worked out that day and need a little more protein.
Yeah, I mean, why not? And the meatball is known for its protein sources.
Right.
So there we go. And so, David, another thing you mentioned is that you are a litigator. What is a litigator?
So that's a great question. I always tell people who are non-attorneys. Basically, a litigator is someone who represents individuals who have a dispute with someone else. And that means we will go to court. So if you have a dispute with another individual, with a company, you are going to hire me or my firm and ask us to resolve that dispute. And if we can't resolve that dispute, sometimes we will have to file a lawsuit in court, and we have to go to court and basically present our case to a judge or a jury.
All right. So a lot of people watch these lawyer shows like Suits or like Law and Order.
Yes.
I assume it's kind of like that, where you just kind of like walk around in fancy suits all day.
Yes, you can see how I'm dressed today. I was going to become casual. I did not dress up for this podcast. I apologize since I had court. Yes, what I do is just like Suits. In a case that is a huge case, we resolve in less than an hour.
I was going to say, quick.
It is. I cannot watch these legal shows. My daughter, Megan, she just finished her first year law school. I tried to talk her out of it, as you know. She loves Suits. She likes Law and Order. And she goes, will you watch it with me? I can't watch it because they're so absurd. They're factually not accurate. And nothing that occurs in those shows ever happens in real life.
I also have watched Suits before, and I just watch it for the drama. Whenever they are like, oh, we have this complex like litigation, this complex case, and it gets resolved in like 20 minutes. I'm like, in what world does that happen?
Right. And it gets resolved in attorneys in there are screaming against other attorneys. They're screaming at judges. That just doesn't happen.
Wait, attorneys, they don't scream at each other?
No, not well. I should say there's a few handful who I will not name but I am not one of those. And the attorneys that I associate with are typically more professional. There's a misnomer about when you're a litigator and you're fighting against each other that you have to scream and yell and be this pit bull, and that's just not true.
It's funny because you mentioned your daughter, Megan, and you said that you didn't want her to go to law school. A lot of people think of like law school and then med school and then like business school, like these big things that they have to achieve to find success. So why isn't law necessarily the answer for everyone?
Well, I don't think it is. Going back just one step to that, I'm involved in the community. Betsy and I are involved in the community, and we advocate to a lot of individuals that secondary or post education after high school is not necessary. Our country has put an emphasis, you got to go to college, you got to go to college, you got to go to college. And I respectfully disagree with that. I think that individuals who are now graduating from high school should look at more trade schools. And I think high school should offer more trade education, because we're in need of that. And a lot of young men and women are just not suited for college for a 4-year degree. And when they graduate with a 4-year degree, they're in debt typically of over $100,000. And what are they going to do? Whereas you could go to trade school or Columbus State, which is amazing. My son, Max, graduated from Columbus State, and he said, Dad, should I get my 4-year degree? And Max always wanted to go into hospitality, and he works over at the Hilton. And I said, no. I said, there's no reason to, unless you get into a job at the Hilton where they say, we need you to go get your 4-year degree. Then you can go online and get your 2-year degree. You won't be in debt, or they'll pay for it. So with that mindset, I told Megan, I love what I do, but I said, if you don't want to be a lawyer, there's other professions that you can go into that you don't have to graduate, maybe in a little bit of debt, and that, your path to success might be a little bit easier. But she always loved the law, and so that's what she wanted to do. So who am I to tell her not to pursue her passion?
No, I agree with you as far as like there seems to be like a culture like you have to go to college to kind of be successful in life. And why do you think that is? Like, why do you think we push people toward college?
I think that's just a mindset that, maybe an older generation had, that, it's a stigma that if you don't go to college. For example, as I stated, my kids were raised in Bexley. Bexley's an affluent suburb here in Columbus. And a lot of times when people, their kids are seniors, you see parents and like, where's your son going? Where's your daughter going to school? So there's a stigma. Oh, well, they're not going to school, or they're going to trade school. And I think, I'm not sure where that came from, but I think more and more we need to push for what is best for the young woman or young man and get rid of that stigma. Like for me, when people ask that about my son, Max, I say he's going to take off a year or he's going to go to Columbus State. And I was proud of that. And I think that is where maybe we get into this stigma where maybe either a child feels like I have to go to school because I have to impress my parents, or it's what society is telling me to do. And that's why I wish we would change that narrative.
And I agree. And it's like I don't remember how old I was when I graduated from high school, but like, 17 or 18 years old. And we're making these huge financial decisions of like incurring all this debt.
Huge debt. I mean, I had to pay for my parents were not affluent. They didn't have a lot of money. Luckily, I had some scholarship money being a manager in the law school I had to pay for. And I always joke, I'm 56 right now. I just paid off my law school loans 3 years ago. So 20 something years later.
Cheers to that.
Right. Please cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. But, cheers for that. But I had an associate who was working for me. She graduated from the Ohio State University. She graduated from law school, and she's in debt of over $200,000. And I'm like, how are you going to pay that off? And so I think those are things that we need to consider, especially for young people. And I love to mentor young people. And that's where I just wish things would change.
So mentoring, I love mentoring as just a theory. So how do you put that into practice?
So I try to, I grew up here, so I try to mentor individuals who maybe are graduating from college and thinking about whether law school or thinking about what they want to do. And so they get in touch with me because people know David, he grew up here in Columbus. He's done a lot of things. He knows a ton of people. His wife, Betsy, knows a ton of people. So people sort of push or them to contact us because, the old adage, it's not, what you know, it's who you know. And so I just try to give advice on that aspect. And then if they are in law school, I try to mentor them about what they're interested in, where they should end up, whether, they want to work with a big firm, small firm, even practice law. So those are the types of how I get, mentoring young men and women.
I've got 2 questions based on that.
Fire away.
You want the hard one first or the easy one first?
I like the hard one first.
What is one instance where you tried to mentor someone and they didn't take your advice and they didn't work out?
Oh, that's a great question. There's been a couple of those individuals. It was someone who went to law school. I told them that I did not think that law school was for them. Again, they just didn't know what they wanted to do. I felt that they had a better business knowledge acumen. And I said, why don't you go get your MBA first? And then you can go, if you're still interested, go get your law degree. They went went to law school 1 year, 50,000 in debt and dropped out. And they called me up and they said, "You're right. Law school was not for me." And it's sad because it's, again, it's, you're just trying to give your advice. They will, the mentee will make his or her decision on what path they choose. So that was a little frustrating. And then individuals who graduate law school, I'm not a big firm person. You can go to a large firm, make a lot of money, but you're going to bill a lot of hours. You're not going to have much life. If you want to be a litigator, you're not going to try cases with a big firm. And I know people who went to big firms, and after 6 months, 9 months, they would call me up and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a new job," because they just hated it. So those are some of the things where you gave the advice, they didn't follow it, which is completely fine. And then they came back and said, "Hey, this is where I'm at." And of course, I would never say, "Told you so," because that's not right. You make a choice and we all live with our choices.
It's fascinating, the whole big firm. That's what suits every big law firm show it's about. And I remember I went to a law firm after I graduated law school, and I started there, I believe, in August of the year I graduated law school. And by January, they were handing me the walking papers. I was like, "What? Got fired that quick?" And I was like, that was just life-altering, life-shaking.
Why did that not path succeed for you?
As far as big law?
Yeah.
Just kind of taking a term from Jocko Willink's Extreme Ownership. I probably wasn't progressing to the level that they wanted me to. And, in the 5 months, who would have thought I wouldn't be an expert in something coming out of law school? But it's like, you look at that type of environment, it's like, yeah, they can entice with a lot of money and everything, but you're not going to have time to spend any money, and you're stressed about everything. I think the billable hour system is just a wild system, accounting for every 0.6 of an hour or 0.1 of an hour. And it's like, that's how you want to live your life. And looking back at that experience, like hindsight, every job that I've had where I kind of jumped to like a big law firm experience never worked out. And it's like, yeah, the money's enticing. Yeah, the lifestyle's enticing. But at the same time, it's like, you have to figure out what's best for your personality. For some people, they love that aspect of big law. And hats off, tip to them, like, more power to you. But for me and my personality, it's just not geared toward that. And the thing is, like, you couldn't tell me that in law school. Like, no, you can have mentors. And I'm like, hey, but I have like this law school debt. They're offering this amount of money. This is what I have to do. And I think it's just kind of like this endless trap. You make kind of a decision to go to law school, even if it's not in your best interest. And then you make the decision from that because, like, you have the student law debt that you have to kind of pay off to go to some place like a big firm where they can give you the money to pay off that debt. Although you're not going to have much of a life outside of that, like, they give you that option. So it's like this endless cycle.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, think about it. You would never be able to do a podcast that you're doing, which you're, very successful with. And, I always look at, you went to the big firm and, failure breeds success. Yes. I truly believe that. And I know we've heard that adage before, and it sucks when you fail. I mean, I've failed at things and it sucks. You're down on yourself. And you get frustrated, but you pick yourself up. And I always feel like that you work harder, and then when you achieve your next goal or success, you feel so much better because of that failure. And so, sometimes you got to fail. You got to fail to be successful, and I believe in that adage. And for you, look, big firm wasn't for you, and then I know you went to some other firms, and look at you now. So
I'm pretty happy.
Without that experience, you might not be here.
And I'm very glad that it happened, because it's something like, either life happens to you or you kind of take ownership of it and make the change yourself. And I don't know if I would have ever left that environment, even though I could kind of see the writing on the walls of how unhappy I would be based on the other people around me. So I'm glad that I was kind of like forced out the nest in that regard. Yep. Like, life made a decision for me. And from that, I had to learn how to kind of grow outside of that in like a dicey situation. So I agree with you there.
Yep. And look at you now.
Appreciate it. And so now the easy question. Could we went with the hard one first?
Yes.
The easy question is, what is an example of an instance where you mentored somebody and they took your advice and it turned out well for them?
Wow, there's lots. I think there's, I'm not trying to sit here and say, oh, look at me, but I think that there's a lot of individuals who I've mentored who are now very successful. For example, I'm just thinking of one, like a young man who was graduating from undergraduate school. He was interested in the FBI because of my prosecutorial background and my colleagues. I have friends who are in the FBI, who are in the AUSA's, United States Attorney General's office. And so I was able to have him meet people, speak with them, so he could decide what he wanted to do. And now he's doing it. I think he's in, now the Secret Service or CIA somewhere, one of those areas. And from what his mom has indicated, he's loving it. So those are things, because, he was interested in it, but I I pointed him to the right direction of who to meet, who to speak with, see if this is what you want to do. And it was. And those people then, my friends latched onto him and helped him. That's one thing that I know. And then, just younger lawyers that I've mentored, I still keep in contact with who, passed the bar, were with a firm. We kept in touch, went to another firm, and they're doing successful. So they still call me and reach out to me for questions. Those are the things that really make what I do rewarding.
And I think, David, that's a testament to you, because in both scenarios, for the first individual where it didn't work out because they went to law school and then dropped out after 1 year, to the individual that kind of took your advice and had all these leads and landed in the position in the government that they wanted to have, and they still came back to you. And I think one aspect of mentorship that I find valuable just with anyone that I consider a mentor is the fact that they don't try to force their opinion on me. They give me the facts of both sides, pro, cons, and give me the right tools that I need to be informed.
Yep.
So I think that's impressive that you do that.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm going to give you a little thing. It's not easy to do. My son Max, who we have a great relationship, when he was younger, in his teenage years, he was a little bit of a challenge. And as a parent, which is sort of like what you do, you give advice. Hey, Max, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And he would be like, no, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing this. And I would get frustrated. I'm like, why? Lived through these life. You should do it. You should do it. And then one day it clicked. It really clicked. It's like, he's old enough now, he has to make his choices. And if he falls down, he'll brush himself off, get back up, or you'll be there to help him get back up. And so I learned from that. I would say, now, Max, why don't you do this? I don't want to do that. No problem. And that relationship that I had with him became so much stronger because it was on me. It was not a Max issue. It was a David issue. When I realized how to be a better parent, and that transitioned over mentoring. Like, hey, I can mentor and give you, but I don't have to get mad at Dan. Hey, Dan, you should do this. I'm not doing that. Well, screw you. I don't want to be your mentor anymore. No, it's like, okay, Dan, I appreciate that. Just let me know if you need anything else from me.
I think that's so cool. A lot of people won't do that at all.
No.
It's like my way or the highway, or my way or kick rocks. So how do you build your mentorship tools?
I think it's part of it's life experiences. I really think that, like I said, there's mistakes that I have made or failed at, and I learn from those. And so from that learning tool, I pass that on to younger individuals. So I'm saying, I hope you don't have to, go through this experience that I went through. And then also talking to other individuals, to hear what they have to say, colleagues, about if they're mentoring or what's going on in their lives, experiences, and sort of pass that on to the younger generation. I think our society does not do a great job of mentoring young people. I know there's, differences now. I'm not a huge TikTok fan. People now like 30 seconds or a minute of content and then move on. So you have to adapt with that. And I realize that, like, when I'm mentoring someone, I'm going to sit there and talk to them for an hour. We'll talk about what their expectations are, what they're looking for, what I think, and then, pass them along and then let them go.
So I'm going to push back a little bit there. By push back, I mean just ask an additional question. Sure. And so I do notice the social media trends, like shorter attention spans and everything. But people still like long form conversations. They still like long form things. So, like, is it a good trend to kind of like, instead of getting deep with someone, getting to know them, just like have these little snippets?
I'm not a snippet fan. Like what you're doing with your podcasts, other podcasts. I like that. I don't want a 10-minute podcast. I enjoy listening for 30, 45 minutes, an hour, because I think it's entertaining, it's informative. So I prefer the long. It's just that I know with younger people, when I say younger, I'm talking about, maybe teenagers, and, that they seem to be like instant gratification. So I think that something that hopefully their brains evolve where they don't need that instant gratification. They can listen to an hour podcast. They can watch a movie for 2 hours without losing their mind, that type of thing.
I think instant gratification is a dangerous path, and I do hope they grow out of it. You think about like long-term goals, like, oh, I want to lose weight. If you go to the gym for 1 day and don't have the instant gratification losing, 10 pounds, it's like, I want to stop.
Well, right now, our society, there's this thing called, I think, Ozempic and some other things, which I would never take, as much as I'd like to drop some pounds. And we've talked about that. That's the instant gratification. And to me, it's, people joke when you say you want to lose weight, oh, why don't you just take the shot? And I know a lot of people who are, probably in their 45 to 55 range, my age range, they're on that. And I'm just like, but they don't need, it's not like they're obese. And so it's like, maybe they're 10, 15, 20 pounds overweight. okay, let's work out, let's change the diet, which is not easy to do. Instead of the instant gratification, take a shot and boom. Just my thoughts.
No, I agree with you. And the thing is, like, if you use something like Ozempic or any other type of, I think they're GLRPs or something. I don't know an acronym. I'm not smart. But whenever you use that, it's like, are you just using that as a crutch or an additional tool in like your repertoire as far as like, oh, I can have this incorporated with the diet and then workout routines and everything. And something about going from like a weight loss journey teaches you a lot of different skills and a lot of different like ways to fight through setbacks and failures, like hopping on the scale and you probably didn't hit the number that you wanted. It's like, all right, I can still tighten up and sharpen up or teach you patience.
Right.
And I think something like Ozempic, like if people need to do it for, its intended purpose of treating diabetes, cool, do that. But if you're looking for a shortcut, I mean, when does shortcuts ever really pay off for you?
They don't. And like I said, there's people I know who are on it that need to be on it. There's certain weights and health things, but when you read that out in the suburbs, people are on it like it's, and just to lose 15 pounds or whatever before they go on vacation, I have an issue with that.
I do too. So, David, thank you for giving us your thoughts on mentorship, the show Suits, law school, med school, student loan debt, and most importantly, Ozempic. Thank you very much for giving us a background. Sounds like you've had a fantastic life in Columbus and you're making a difference here.
I am. I mean, I love Columbus. I feel like I'm making a difference. I've been told I make a difference to some individuals, and you make a difference for one person. To me, it's worth it.
Well, you've made a difference with at least me. So if no one's ever told you that, you've made a difference to me, and that's what I appreciate. But if you don't mind, we've talked about you long enough. Now it's about me. So you had 2 pieces of homework in preparing for this podcast. So I want to talk to you about the first piece, and you had a certain date to pick. Do you remember what that date was?
Yes, I believe it was February 7th, 2024 was the date that I picked.
All right, so February 7th, 2024. What's special about that date?
There was 2 dates I gave you, but that one stood out. It's my daughter Megan's birthday, February 7th, and 24. As I indicated, she basically was done with graduating, finishing up college, and it was just a great time for her, and she was having a great year. So that was just something that stood out because she conveyed how excited she was her senior year of college at Penn State, her roommates, and I just remember her birthday and how happy she was.
Nice. So what did you guys do to celebrate her birthday that year?
If I recall, we actually went into Penn State. It's about a 5.5-hour drive. Went in, spent the day with her. And just had a lot of fun, and then drove back that later that day because it was I don't think it was a weekend, and I knew that she was going to be going out with her roommates that weekend.
He was like, "Hey, Dad, I need you to go so I can go out."
But basically, it was like, "Okay, you bought me a free meal. All right, I love you. Goodbye."
So I've never been to Penn State's campus. What's it like?
It is one of the most beautiful campuses. It's basically sort of like OU. As how, if you've ever been to Athens, is the analogy. It's in Happy Valley, and it is literally in a valley. That is the city. There's nothing around, and it is just green, lush. Now, at that time in February, it wasn't. It was more gray and dark, but it's just beautiful. I always tell people OU and Penn State seem to be similar campuses.
I think it's fascinating because I've been taught I have to hate Penn State because I went to the Ohio State University. Do you have similar hatred going toward Happy Valley?
I don't. I'm a big Buckeye fan, but I'm not the rabid Buckeye fan. For example, I don't hate Michigan people. I don't hate Penn State people. If Ohio State loses a football game, I still have to go to work Monday. It's okay. My life's not over.
The coolest thing, like, I didn't grow up in Columbus, admittedly. And so my allegiances originally before I came to Ohio State University was Florida State University. And their football team is work in progress. It's fine. It happens. But I remember this past year, Ohio State won the actual national championship game.
They did.
Went to the playoffs. And you look at news articles, they're like, but they still lost to Michigan. I was like,
who cares? I know people say that, oh, it's tarnished. I'm like, I'm the firm believer we could lose to Michigan every year and win the national championship. I'd be thrilled with that.
And there are people that are going to say, you know what? I would prefer to beat Michigan and lose the big game and lose the title instead.
Which makes no sense.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Is there something that they teach you in elementary school here that makes you guys this way?
They do teach you to hate that team up north, but I'm just not one of those individuals.
I'm not either. And it's like, give me the natty any day
I'll take the natty any day of the week over, beating Michigan or beating Penn State or whomever.
Exactly. I agree with you. Well, thank you for sharing your date with us.
Yep.
So what I'll have you do, I'll have you just kind of read to yourself the bike brain entry for that date, as that kind of explain what bike brains are, if that's right with you.
Yes, but I have a question. I'll start reading it. What is bike brain while I'm looking at this?
What is bike brain?
Yes.
It's the thing you're reading right now.
I know, but why bike brain? How'd you come up with that? I know I'm not trying to flip the script
Oh
here,
no, it's all good. I love
but
when the script gets
I'm
flipped.
reading it and I'm trying to understand. It says bike brain. So I'm like, what is that? What does it mean? And how did you come up with that?
Yeah, so back in November 2023, which is why when we were picking the dates, I was like, you can't go before that date. I started to try to process the thoughts in my head in the daily journal format. And I found myself doing and thinking about these things while I was biking in the morning. And so I wasn't biking on the road. I have my road bike set up on a bike trainer. So it turns my outdoor bike into an indoor bike. And I was just sitting there. I'm like, what an interesting thought. And so I just started jotting down my notes. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, like a version of microjournaling. And so I try to do them like 5 to 6 days a week. I'm usually skipping Sundays because I'm a lazy bum. And so they became known as bike brains because it's what I'm thinking about during the actual biking session.
I like that.
Yeah.
And that is a great little bike brain note for February 7th, 2024.
All right, perfect. So how about this? I'll have you read it to yourself as I explain in more in detail about the different categories, if that's all right with you.
Please.
Yeah. So as I told David just a few seconds ago, bike brains are a tool that I use to help process the world around me. I aim to do them on Monday through Saturday and taking Sunday off so I can just kind of rest and recover. They're generally broken down into one of 3 big categories. That's mind, body, and spirit. Mind is about having energy allocation dedicated to different mental rooms in your life, be it the law school room, the Columbus room, the litigation room, or just even the mentorship room. We all have different rooms in our lives that we dedicate mental energy into, and to properly allocate that energy, we have to intentionally enter into those rooms. The next category is body. Body is about taking a 360 holistic approach to your body. It's more than just calories in or calories out through exercise. It's also about how you carry your stress levels, your anxiety levels, how much sleep you're getting, even the environment around you. And the last is spirit. Spirit is about diving in and reaching out. It's diving into your own code of conduct to figure out how you want to carry yourself in the world and the rules that you live by for yourself. And reaching out to others, understanding that you can't do this thing called life alone. So David, did you have a chance to read that?
I did.
All right, perfect. So if it's all right with you, I'm going to go ahead and read. It's like you have a question already.
No, I'm just reading it is very applicable to me about what it goes through. You know.
All right, can't wait to hear it. I'm going to give you the first crack at the apple after I finish reading it. How about that?
That sounds good.
All right, here we go. So once again, this is February 7th, 2024. And the entry is body. And the title is HGH Hormones, ZZZ. And this is it. Newborns sleep nearly 18 hours a day. They don't have 4 sleep stages like adults, but 2, non-rapid eye movement, NREM, and REM sleep. Each makes up 50% of baby sleep time. As social media posts showing kiddos aging in front of a 12-month blanket, newborns grow like weeds. It's due to the human growth hormone, HGH, released during non-REM. The tricky thing about HGH is that up to 75% of HGH gets released when you're sleeping, specifically a stage where newborns get 9 hours. That is non-REM stage 3, aka deep sleep. The body cycles through the 4 stages, and deep sleep doesn't always come easy. The best chance to recover, grow, and repair your body is to get enough deep sleep, about 1.5 to 2 hours a night. Since deep sleep is only about 10 to 25% of a night's sleep, do the math to see how much sleep you need to maximize a natural release of HGH. I have lots of thoughts here. But I want to hear your thoughts first about like the human growth hormone and it only happening during deep sleep.
Well, reading that just now and what I was saying is like, wow, that explains a lot about my body and the lack of HGH that I am getting because I don't sleep anymore. We have a Great Dane who unfortunately sleeps in our bed and weighs about 155 pounds. It's always hot in our bedroom. And I feel like as you get older, you just don't sleep as much. So clearly I am not producing HGH that I need. And that's very interesting. I've never heard about that. And I think that is a really interesting read. So thank you.
Absolutely. So I have a niece or a great niece that I met when she was 4 months old. It was very dicey when we first met. She did not like me. She kept like crying, like attacking my facial hair. And I'm like, we're going to become fast friends. And about an hour later, she was sleeping in my arms. And I'm like, And so I didn't really put together that babies need so much sleep and they like grow like very fast. We've all seen like the Instagram posts. Oh, my baby's 4 months old. They like applesauce. Not 4 months old, but they like applesauce. They like bananas. They're smiling. They're doing the alphabet. I'm like, all right, calm down. The baby's not doing the alphabet at 4 months old. But it's like they had to sleep a lot. And so I remember back during this time, I was reforming my own sleep. And I was listening to Andrew Huberman's podcast. And he had a guest on there. And the guest mentioned that with sleep, it's the one thing that kind of survived evolution throughout time. And you think about the evolution and back in time and everything before we had like all this technology. It's like you're not courting somebody, you're not really hunting your prey, you're not gathering food, and you're really kind of in a vulnerable position when you're sleeping. And despite all those kind of quote unquote disadvantages, it still persisted. And so I looked at my sleep, and you know me, I like to get up and work out early in the morning, and I was like, I'm getting 4 hours and 5 hours of sleep, and I felt great, right? It's like crazy, feels great. But when I started getting good sleep, when I started pushing that to like 7 hours, I was like, oh, I feel recharged. And I started knowing like differences in my body development and everything. Like fat loss became easier, like muscle development became more pronounced and everything. And I was like, oh, this is because I'm actually getting more sleep. And it's gotten to the point where my friend Dominic Nappy, he recommended an app called Auto Sleep. And Auto Sleep, like we have like these little activity rings on our watch. It gives you activity rings for sleep. And so now it calculates based on my heart rate and everything, how much deep sleep I'm getting. And it turns into a little game. And so now I'm like, oh, if I go to bed this time, I can potentially close my sleep ring, which is the most absurd thing ever, but it helps.
But it's like fun.
It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a game. So can I ask you another question? So
Absolutely
for
not.
someone like me,
You can't ask me a question.
Yeah. So someone like me, like reading that, and you said how you change your cycle, you're able to get more sleep. What do you recommend to someone like me saying, okay, David, how do I get more sleep? How do I, more of the basically deep sleep that will help me both mind, body, and spirit?
Absolutely. And so whenever I look at my rings for deep sleep, I'm going to tell you the one thing that kills it, no matter how much sleep I get. It's alcohol. Alcohol is a big one. Even if I have a couple of glasses of bourbon, my deep sleep rings will be almost non-existent. I am not like a sleep expert, but apparently there are some ties to alcohol and your ability to get deep sleep. Even if you booze and sleep for 10 hours, very little of that will be very deep sleep. And so I guess I should ask you, what is your wind down routine before going to bed?
Well, unfortunately, I do some work. Usually wind down, go to bed anywhere between 10:30 and 11:30. I don't like to watch a lot of TV. Betsy does. I don't play on my phone as much, reading news. So I really don't. I just sort of like, go up and lay in bed. She puts on some show. She likes the noise, and I just sort of drift off. I've always been able to. Betsy says I'm insane because I can fall asleep instantly. But the problem is I get up at, if I fall asleep at 11, I'm up at 1:30. And then I'm up at 3:30, and the next thing you know, it's 6:30. I'm either trying to push myself to get up to go work out, or I'm like, okay, I need a little bit more sleep. So it's up multiple times. Now, I don't know if you read, sometimes I will take an edible that does help me sleep, and I do feel, not pushing any products, but I do feel that I get a better night's sleep. It'd be interesting if you research this and we come back on whether taking edibles has a different effect than alcohol that it puts you in a deeper sleep. Because I do feel like I get a deeper sleep when I do take an edible.
Well, the thing is though, the first step is kind of raising awareness to how much deep sleep you're getting. And so before anyone makes any sweeping changes to anything, it's like even when like we were trying to lose weight, people like try to change everything. It's like, well, I don't know what's working if I'm changing everything. And so for me, the first thing I look at is like, well, how much sleep am I currently getting?
So probably figure that out first for myself.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the reason why I had to upgrade my watch. I had to get a newer watch because I needed something that could last throughout the night, battery level wise. And so the first thing I had to do was figure out how much sleep I was getting. I was like, okay, 5.5 hours is not ideal for anything. And then the second thing I looked at was what are the non-negotiables I had. I'm like, no matter what, I'm going to get up and work out. So now I have like 3 different alarms just in case my watch dies throughout the night. So I know my alarm first one's going off at 4:32 a.m. So I'm like, all right. Knowing that my alarm goes off at 4:32 a.m., that means if I'm sleeping, not just in bed, but if I'm sleeping by 9:32 p.m., I'm going to get my 7 hours. And 10 to 15% ideally will be of that 10 to 25%, whatever math I said. I'm not going number two. No, I'm a lawyer. But whatever percentage of that will be ideally 1.5 to 2 hours of deep sleep. And so I think to myself, if I have to be sleeping by 9:32 p.m., that means I can't go to bed at 9:30 because chances are I'm not going to fall asleep in 2 minutes. And God forbid if my phone is next to it, you do?
Like I said, I fall asleep in like 2 minutes.
Oh my gosh. So you can pull that off. I can't.
Right. That's why I said, that's why Betsy says I'm like a psycho or insane.
Well, the good thing is like you know that about yourself.
Right.
And so me knowing that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have a wind down routine. And so I'll be in my living room sometimes and I'll look at that clock and it says 8:30 p.m. I'm like, all right. You start getting that kind of feeling. It's like, all right, it's about that time to start hitting upstairs. Sometimes I pop a melatonin. Sometimes I don't. 3 milligrams. My body starts, it's like, all right, it's getting down to that wind down time. And then if I'm not brushing my teeth by like 9, 10 p.m., I'm like, all right, you're in danger. You're in danger about not getting enough deep sleep. And so it's like kind of raising awareness to it. It's like, all right, I know I'm waking up at this time. I know I need this much sleep. And like the past couple of days, I've woken up 10 minutes before my alarm, which is super annoying because my alarm is already pretty early. But I'm like, I can't go back to sleep off of that.
Right.
But it's like, yes, I'm going to wake up. I wake up sometimes at like 2 o'clock a.m. I'm like, okay, that's good. I can go back to sleep. And so knowing that those interruptions are going to happen, I try to schedule my life around that. But the biggest thing is having a wind down routine. So winding down by doing work is tough.
It is tough, and your brain's going. But I'll have to definitely look into. I've got an Apple Watch, so I'll have to look into that and check that out, and then report back to you so you can say this is good or bad.
Oh, it's going to be good, no matter what.
Well, just starting off, and then you can say what I can do.
No matter what the information says, we're going to say it's either good or a work in progress. We don't like bad. It's not bad or anything like that. Because like you need good sleep.
Yeah, I just don't get it.
All right, so how do you feel? Like, when was the last time you remember getting good sleep?
Wow, that's a great question. I don't know. I can't remember getting a really good night's sleep in a long time. And I used to never take naps, which I know I've read some studies that naps are good, but on weekends sometimes it will be, like 4 o'clock. If we've been running around, let's take a quick 30-minute power nap.
How do you feel when you wake up from
Wonderful.
that? Yeah.
That's something I think that is not discussed enough and undervalued, is taking a quick power nap.
The thing is, the nap kind of gets your body recharged in that small amount, and you're not napping so much that it disrupts your sleep later on. You'll see people that say, oh, I took a nap for 3 hours. I'm like, no, that wasn't it. That was sleep.
I'm talking about like 30 minutes.
Yeah, quick power nap, as people call it.
Yep.
I wonder if you'll need that if you actually got a good
I don't know.
night's rest.
I'm excited to try it and report back to you.
So I don't have any animals, but can you just kick the dog out the bed?
Yeah, that's a little hard to do. She's 160 pounds. Now, sometimes I'll go in the other room and sleep, or Betsy will go in the other room and sleep. She rules the roost, so it's bad. Everyone just laughs. It's bad. She's a snuggler. She thinks she weighs 15 pounds.
Oh.
So she'll come up, she pushes on you and everything. So, and that's what gets you up too. And she's hot. It's not only is it hot in our bedroom, but she's hot.
My gosh. So what about like cooling mattresses?
Oh, we have that.
Still doesn't help.
No, it still doesn't help. Well, imagine having a 150-pound blanket on you that's like heated with fur and then breathing and snoring.
Well, I don't have to imagine too hard.
Right.
Come on now. But that does sound very unpleasant.
Yes.
And it definitely can sound like it can wake you up.
It does.
All right. So how are you going to go about getting better sleep?
I don't know. That's why I'm here to get your advice. Maybe when we're done, off the record, you'll have to tell me.
All right, off the record, I'll tell you that. So, David, thank you for kind of entertaining the bike brain, and then assuming that I couldn't relate to having a 150-pound hairy thing in my bed. Sometimes the nights get wild, but it's fine. I can also relate to that.
There you go.
Yeah. But enough.
But it was just like a one time. It wasn't like constant like I have to do.
Yeah, I'm a single guy for a reason. It's not constant. It's like, next day, get out of here.
Right, exactly.
I got work to do.
I got stuff going on.
That's wild. So thank you for kind of talking through the bike brain. I think sleep is important, so I appreciate you kind of giving me your thoughts on that.
That's great. I'm thrilled. That is great advice, something I never knew about. And the bike brain definitely enlightened me, and I'm excited to take that journey now with the sleep. So thank you.
And thank you. No one's ever asked that I recall about like what the bike brain, like how'd you come up with that title? So it's fun to kind of discuss how I came up with one of my favorite tools ever to use. But enough about me. And also kind of about you. You also had a second piece of homework assignment.
I did.
So let me ask you, David, what is a tool that you use to help form your own best path forward and hit your goals?
So there's basically 3 things I try to do to hit my goals. And I will tell you what.
Give me a list. I'm going to write it down.
No. This is easy. It's interesting. When I was younger, I didn't really set goals for myself, which I think was a mistake. And then as I got older and I met Betsy was very goal oriented. And so she said, you got to set some goals. And then I met you. And if you remember, you were very goal oriented and, being the coach that you are and helping out. So those are some things I'm like, okay, I got to start setting some goals. And so when I do set goals, as you indicated, there's 3 things that try to help me achieve those goals. And the first thing I say is talk to myself. That helps a lot. We can say things in our brain, not out loud, but for me, when I say something out loud to myself, I might seem like a crazy person, it really does help me achieve my goal. For example, working out. I get up early to work out as well, and the alarm goes off, and sometimes, because I didn't get a good night's sleep, I'm like, oh, can I just skip today? But I start to say, when I'm in bed, get up. Get up, you idiot. Come on, you got it, get up. And I say it out loud, not too loud to wake up Betsy or the dog, but I say it loud enough that I'm motivating myself. Or when I'm in trial is like a competition, and you get tired, because for numerous reasons. And it's like, I talk to myself, come on, you got this. You get nervous, you got this is what you need to do. And I literally will talk to myself. And I think that helps a lot. I think some people maybe feel embarrassed or awkward talking to themselves. And I'm not saying I'm in the middle of a restaurant sitting at a table by myself talking to myself. What I'm saying is that, when I'm about to do something, or I'm not meeting my expectation, or I'm afraid I'm not going to, talking myself really helps.
I take huge offense to you saying that people shouldn't sit in restaurants and talk to themselves. I've done that before. I'll tell you, the waiter or waitress looks very confused.
There you go.
They are never slow on service because they assume that you're a crazy person. Right. So I try not to do it to myself. But I kind of really like the first thing that you mentioned here, talk to yourself. Do you know David Goggins by any chance?
I do not.
So David Goggins is that guy right there. He wrote a book called Can't Hurt Me. I feel like every episode of the podcast, I always talk to him, but that's a different story. He created a whole persona that he kind of talks to talk to himself, and calls it Goggins. So it's like David Goggins, and he's like Goggins. Goggins is the madman that was like, Goggins. Like, he has a whole voice and everything. It's fascinating. So I like the idea that, like, you kind of talk to yourself, because one, it's like good to have these thoughts, but once you kind of verbalize it, it's a different story.
It is. I mean, you just hearing it out loud. I mean, again, instead of just in your brain, just hearing it out loud and it just does something for me. So I'll have to get that book and hear it. The nice thing about when you're saying talking to yourself in a restaurant now with earbuds, you can act like you're on the phone and you don't look as crazy.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, just put them in and just sit there and talk to yourself. They'll think you're having a conversation.
I'll have to put the phone face down because, like, if I get a call while it's happening,
right, so they'll know.
Sus. It's like, sir, this is on the house.
Right.
Like, thank you, I needed it.
Or he's cut off. No more alcohol.
No more alcohol. Yeah, that's fair. Although I'll probably be at Marcello's eating a giant meatball.
There you go.
And so when you kind of talk to yourself, do you kind of see like a big difference before and after?
I do. It's really helped me. In pressure situations or in stressful situations where you have a goal and you're not meeting it and you're getting frustrated, to talk to myself and calm myself down, saying you're going to meet the goal, you're going to be okay, keep going forward. It does help. It has really, truly been a revelation for me to start doing that. So it helps.
It's kind of like just an affirmation to yourself. Like, even if you feel like you don't have the energy to do it, just telling yourself you can do it. Right. I mean, chances are the mind quits well before the body will. And a lot of people aren't pushing their bodies because of the limitations of their mind. But when you kind of verbalize it, like, your body already has the energy it needs to do it. You just can actually do it.
Right. That's true. I mean, the affirmation, you make me laugh. Again, dating myself, the Saturday Night Live, there was a skit with Stewart, and he would be in a mirror and doing affirmation, and you laugh about it, but it's true. It does help. And I would recommend that anyone who sets goals and they're maybe not meeting their goals, or they're just struggling, just start talking to yourself and motivating yourself, and it does help. No,
I agree with you completely. And so that's kind of the big first thing.
Yep.
You say you had two more. What else you got for us?
The second one is I share my goals with friends, loved ones. And the reason is obviously when we set goals, it can be intimate. It can be a goal, I want to lose 20 pounds, or I'm struggling with this issue and my goal is to get over that struggle. And when you share it with a loved one or a close friend, that loved one or close friend will support you to meet that goal. And I think they will give you some motivation or kind words. For example, like I said, getting up to start working out. When you get older, life is busy. It's hard to get up and work out. We've talked about that. And, Betsy, my wife, knows that on certain days I work out. If I'm struggling getting up, she'll say, like, hey, babe, isn't this your workout day? Yeah, it is. Hey, babe, why don't you get going? Once you're up, you'll be out of here. So she gives those encouraging words that helps me, even though I'm trying to talk to myself, that extra boost really helps. If I'm struggling, my goal is to, get, 15 new clients, a work goal, and I share that with Betsy or share it with friends. Friends will say, how's it going? I'm struggling a little bit. Hey, did you reach out to A? Did you reach out to B? Did you reach out to C? Trying to help me achieve that goal. So that is another tool I use to help me meet my goals.
Sharing the struggle and sharing kind of like what you want to do with other people. I think the biggest and saddest thing about like people trying to do any type of personal development is that they want to kind of keep it a secret. They don't want anyone to know. They assume they're like, oh, I'm going to go in the corner in secret and do this. And then 5 or 6 months later, I'm going to come out in this big revelation. But I think you're right. Like, once you start sharing it with people, not only they can give you kind of advice. It can just be a sounding board. Because with any journey, there's going to be some high points, but there's going to be some low points. And if you're just suffering in silence, like what's the point, right?
Right.
You have to have that kind of tight circle around you. But I think there's also another reason to share your goals too, kind of on top of what you said. And this is kind of the dark side of it. I think a lot of people will unintentionally sabotage you. And so if you don't share your goals with them, so like, hey, I want to eat out less, or I want to cut it down on sweets. They'll be like, hey, let's go out and eat and everything. If you don't tell them like, hey, I'm trying to do better, they're like, oh, you're not a cool person anymore. Oh, you're this, that, and the other, because they don't understand what you're going through. And so you're not giving them a chance to kind of be a supportive friend by not sharing your goal.
That is a great point. And I'm not going back to this, but being successful or having clients, I want to get more clients. I've shared that with people, and people are like, what do you mean? You're already successful. You're already doing very well. So when you say that, that's a great point, because then it's like, they might not understand why you're trying to hustle to get that work. They might say you're overworking, but it's like, this is my goal. This is personal to me. This is what I want to achieve. So Dan, you make a great point about that. I never really thought about that, but that is 100% true.
I'm just going deeper into what you already said.
I think that's,
but even the more dark side. I know this is even darker, right?
We can go a little, I like going to the dark side.
There are going to be some people that don't want you to really get to that new level. They have you in this box and they're like, oh, David or Dan, you belong in this box. I like you in this box. I like the relationship we have with me being in this box, which may or may not be a little bit higher than your box. And so I don't want you to grow and develop. And so I'm not going to support you in your goals and everything. Have you ever had that happen?
I've had that happen. Absolutely. For example, and working out, getting in shape. There are people who, friends or I have a nickname, Goldie. Goldie, you're looking good. Where people might get jealous of that. Oh, what do you mean you're looking so? People do get jealous of that. People can get jealous of success. You want to be more active in the community, and you say one of my goals is to be more politically active and do all of these things. Why is that your goal when you're not spending enough time over here and you're not doing this? Because they're just jealous of either your success or your happiness. So yeah, that is something that I have seen from others. And that's why, to me, I try to share my goals with people I trust and know will support me. Because if you share a goal with someone like that, and they're just going to be negative, that's not someone you need as a friend. That's not what a friend does. That's not what a loved one does. A loved one or family, close family friend always supports you no matter what, unless it's harmful to you or something. I mean, if you came in and said, this is what you want to do, and like I said, mentoring, and I don't think it's right, I'll still, I might say, hey, Dan, I disagree with you, but I will support whatever decision you make.
And I think it kind of harkens back to what you said about mentorship.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to support you. Although I don't agree with it, I want to support you. It's not like you're going out there doing every drug under the sun.
Right.
You're just making a decision that I personally believe might not work out the best for you, but I'm going to support you no matter what, because if things go great, awesome. But if things don't go great, I don't want you to feel like I'm turning my back on you.
Right.
And so I think, just kind of what you said in mentorship, sharing your goals with people, that doesn't mean they have to be fully on board, but that does mean they can't be a saboteur to you.
Correct.
And I kind of think too, I've had situations in my life too, where I had these like goals and everything, and I felt like I wasn't getting the support I needed from people. You know what I do? Filter them out. It sounds tough, but like life is too short to waste my energy on people that aren't going to support my goals just because they don't want me to, one, achieve it, or two, they don't believe in the same thing that I do. And it's okay. I'm not here to change your opinion about like what I want to do with my goals. Like I can't control that.
Right.
Very much like a Stoic principle. Like I have to focus on the things that I can control.
Yep.
I could punch that brick wall all day long, but that's what's going to happen. The brick wall's going to break, obviously. Have you seen these biceps? No, obviously no. But I'm just going to break my hand.
Right.
So why would I waste that energy with people?
I agree. I think it's important, and you made a great point, is try and control what you can control, especially to me in today's climate. I mean, with what's going on in this world and in this country, I try to be more active, but there's some things I can't control, but it gets to me. Even though I can't control what's going on maybe with our government and things, I can't control that, so I try not to let that eat at me. I can only, protest or advocate and speak my mind.
And it's tough too, like trying to control things outside of our realm. And it's similar to what you said, with your relationship with your son. It's like, hey, I want you to do this. But it's like, you can't control it. But once you kind of let that go, the relationship improved.
Right.
And I think it's important for people to realize that, like, the hardest thing to control is people, which is why you should never try to do that at all.
And that's what the goals. When you set goals, I mean, I try to set more realistic goals. Like, I can't set a goal saying I want to overthrow the current government. I mean, political speech. I mean, I can't do that. But goals I can set is I can be more active protest or make sure my voice is heard more than it usually has been. And that those are goals that I think are achievable.
And once you start sharing those goals with other people, they can help you support that.
Yep.
Either like, hey, how's that going and everything? How's your plan to overthrow the government going?
Right, exactly. Hey, I know you said you had a goal that you want to be more vocal. I saw that you posted some more things, or hey, David, I haven't seen a political post from you for a week, so saying, hey, I got to keep up with my goal. Or telling myself, hey, I posted something, someone who I thought was a friend was bitching at me and it's like, well, too bad. This is my goal, and I'll talk to you about why I feel or posted what I did, but you don't need to bitch and complain
at all. And I think the ones that actually check in on you are like, hey, I haven't seen this in a while. What's going on with you? I think that helps community in general.
Right.
One of my big tenets is spirit, diving in and reaching out. We can't do this thing called life alone. Right. So you kind of have to have your support circle to be there for you. And I think it's huge when people kind of have that follow up with you.
Yep. I agree with that 100%.
Nice. So you said there are 3 things here.
I know.
What's number 3?
I'm blanking on the third.
I remember number 3.
What was number 3?
Just number 3 is it's like other people, like comparing yourself to other people.
Oh yeah, that was. Geez, I don't know why. It might be the little cheers that we had. Yeah, I think the other thing that is important when I'm setting goals is I do not compare myself to other people. And I think that's really important. We talked about that before we came on the camera when I was telling you about my 3 things. And you can't compare yourself to someone when making a goal. I can't I can't compare myself to this stud right here. I can't say I'm going to look like Dan no matter how, I'm going to get in the gym and my goal is to look like Dan. Be individualized, be yourself. And I think that's real important. I can't sit there and say, like I said, I'm going to overthrow the government. I can't do that. That's not, I can't be someone. I'm not high enough on the political ladder to run for office. I can't say, oh, I'm gonna be able to take in $20 million in cases for my new firm. That's just not realistic. I can't say, well, firm B does it. That's just, don't do that. And so I think that's really important, is to strive to what you can do, because then when you reach that goal, you have such a more of a self-worth, a self-accomplishment. And then if you set those goals, like I was saying earlier, that are unrealistic, and comparing yourself to someone, unfortunately, you're going to set yourself up for failure. I mean, even though you're following the steps, I'm talking to myself, I want to look like Dan. I'm at the gym 7 days a week. I told everyone I want to look like Dan, and everyone's like, yes, David, look like Dan, do it. But let's be honest, that's not going to happen. I mean, it's just not, because of numerous factors. But where I can set a goal is saying, I want to set a goal so I'm comfortable with myself on how I look, how I feel. And I think that's sort of how I achieve my 3rd goal when setting it, is saying, don't, even if I'm getting there, don't look at Dan, say, you're seeing results in the gym. You've lost some weight, you're feeling good, or you're seeing results at work. You got more clients, it's more rewarding, that type of thing.
And, I love that, just like focus on you, and be a better person than you were the day before. One of my friends, Hayden, he has a word that he introduced me to, and it's Kaizen. And it is a Japanese philosophy about consistent incremental progress. And that consistent incremental progress is not about someone else, it's about you. It's like, how do I get 1% better every day? Someone said if you do that for a full year, you'll be 100% better. I'm not a math person, but that math doesn't seem right, because 1% times 1%
right.
is not 2%. But I see their point there. It's like stacking habits, right? So stacking the successes, so long as you're getting the wheel moving, even if it's moving slowly, it's still going forward and progressing toward your goals. Stagnation means the wheel is stopped, and just not doing it at all just means you're kind of backsliding a little bit, because time is going forward and that road is just leaving you behind. And so I love the idea of just focusing on what you can do today a little bit better than you did yesterday, and it's all about you.
Yeah, it should always be about, we can be a little bit selfish. I always tell people this. It's okay to be a little bit selfish. And sometimes when you're setting goals, it's okay to be selfish and do what's best for you, and not compare yourself, and do the things that make you happy and achieve that. And so that's exactly what you just said along those lines. Do what is best for you. And I think you'll meet those goals, and you'll feel a hell of a lot better about yourself. And as you know, when you feel a hell of a lot better about yourself, you spread that joy to the people that you love.
I have a hot take here. Not only do I think it's okay to be selfish, I think by not being selfish, you're actually being selfish.
Yeah, I think I agree with that 100%.
Know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I truly believe that is 100% accurate. But again, sometimes we as society put norms on about being selfish and all those things, but I agree with what you just said.
All right, so now I'm curious to know if we're on the same page, because people listening and watching are like, well, what do they mean? So you go first.
Well, I think what you mean, to me, what it means by that is you can make yourself a priority. Look, if you have family, friends, you should be the number one priority to yourself. I truly believe. And people say, oh, you're being selfish. What do you mean you're going to the gym, or what do you mean you're working these long hours, or what do you mean? I'm not saying ignore your friends, but what makes you happy? What makes you tick? What basically makes you meet those goals? And sometimes you have to do things for yourself, because as I said, I believe that when you do those things for yourself, you will be happier. And when you're happier, you spread that joy. I mean, if I am a person who is, basically not meeting my goals because I'm doing other things of what people are asking me to do or telling me to do, I'm not going to be happy, because I'm not meeting my goals. I'm doing what other people are telling me. I'd rather be doing this than that. But if I'm meeting my goals, I can then also say, I'll be a much happier person. So then if I'm meeting my goals and you say to me, I need you to do this, can you do this? Yes, I can do it. I'm done with meeting my goal, or I'm done with this activity to help me meet my goal. I'm going to come over and help you move furniture, or whatever it may be. And I think that's what it means to me, is do for you. And then once you do for you, it will spread out to others.
See, I'm not going to say what I was going to say, because that was a lot better than I was thinking.
I don't know about that.
Oh, I can 100% tell you it's much better than what I was going to think at all. David, I think you've given some really great tips of advice and everything. So how would you kind of suggest that someone kind of get this started for themselves?
Well, I think, I think people need to set their goals. And I don't mean 500, don't set 500 goals, Dan. I think that is a mistake. I think set some realistic goals that you think in your life you need to, sort of prioritize. These are the 3 things. I always say, I think 3 is a good number. Set 3 things that you think that you need to change, or, either change about yourself or change about work, and set those goals. And even if you're the happiest person around and I feel I'm pretty happy, I still set goals for myself. So still set those goals on what will even make you happier. And, do the things that we talked about to meet those goals and meet those expectations. And once you meet those goals, then you can go down your list and say, okay, now I'm going to meet 4, 5, I'm going to create 4, 5, and 6, even though they're not as large. And I'm just telling you, when you meet those goals, the joy that you get, because I've done it, is something that is indescribable. I mean, if you're out there listening and you've met your goals that you set for certain things, and when you meet them, what kind of rush you're feeling? There's no other rush or feeling you get. And everyone notices, because you're just such a better human.
You're beaming.
Yeah, you're beaming, and you're just a better human. You're not angry at people. You're not mad. You just have a smile. It's great.
Nice. Well, kind of saying the goals is like the foundation step before we even get to those other 3 steps. So technically that's step number 1, and the other one's 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
So you have important homework right now, and I want to catch you on that homework in about 30 seconds. So in about 30 seconds, I'm going to ask you for the name of this tool, and I'm going to, in that 30-second time frame, I'm going to kind of recap these 4 steps that you talked about for everyone that's listening and watching, if that's right with you.
Yeah.
All right, so the first step is kind of set relatable goals. So maybe 1 to 3 to kind of start with. The second thing is talk to yourself out loud. Just do more than just think about the goal. Tell yourself you can do the goal and actually start putting it into your head that you can get it done. The second is kind of share those goals with people that are close to you, be it friends, family, people that you kind of love and trust, so they can help build that support network, and they can also help hold you accountable. And last but not least, when setting goals and seeing your progress, compare it to yourself, not to the outside world. We're looking for consistent incremental progress, not for you to be compared to someone else, just compared to the self that you were yesterday. Does that sound about right?
That sounds 100% accurate.
All right, so we have 4 steps in this tool, which is named...
You always put me on the spot. So let's name it this way. We all heard of these TED Talks, which we've all watched. So why don't you just take your first name, your nickname, and just call it, like for me, it could be Goldie Talk, or Dan Talk. And I know that's simplest, but that's personal to you. And if you've listened to us and you heard at least what I believe are ways to achieve these goals, you're talking, you're communicating. And so I think you just name it as that. Take your nickname, your first name, if you want to take your dog's name, and just say it. So for me, I would call it Goldie Talk.
I like that a lot. And it gives people a little more ownership because they put their own stamp on it.
Right.
That's never happened before.
No.
Number 22.
22.
Episode 22.
One of my favorite numbers.
Look at you. You came up with one of the coolest names ever.
Oh, I appreciate that.
All right. So we have 4 steps in that thing. And I think the variable name, first name, and then talks is good because you're talking to yourself through what you want to do.
Yeah. It's about you.
Nah, David, I appreciate you being here.
Dan, this was a pleasure. I really appreciate you inviting me. It's been an honor.
You know you're coming back, right?
I will come back anytime you ask for it.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, you have to read that book.
I want to get that book now and
it's
read it.
Fantastic. So as we're closing here, do you have anything you want to say to the people listening and watching?
Nope. I hope you enjoyed everything, and, be a little bit selfish and just truly enjoy life, because I'm 56 now and it's going by fast. and just make sure that you surround yourself with people you love, friends, family, and everything will be okay in this world.
Everything will be all right. All right, Sarah, we're going to toast out. That's right with you.
I'd love to toast it. Cheers.
Cheers. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time. Have a good one. Thank you for watching and listening to today's episode. Chances are you're looking to embark on your own personal development journey. I'm not going to lie to you. True personal development is hard, and it's supposed to be hard. That's because you're not only changing who you are, but how you operate. The aim of this podcast is to give you a community of people that are striving to do the same. So like and subscribe to the channel, but more importantly, comment below on how you plan on using today's tool to find your own best path forward. We'll see you next time.